Okay, so here's my final presentation for my coaching internship. So my location of my internship was at Stryker Sports Complex in Wichita. Some reasons for choosing this location was mainly because I had a connection with my college coaches, Coach James and Coach Luke Cottage, to their club soccer teams. Coach Luke has three different teams that are younger. He has a U6 girls group, a U8 boys group, and a U12 boys group. And Coach James has a U15 boys, U15 or U16 boys, and a U18 boys as well. So I got to work with a wide range of ages, which I'll talk about later in the presentation as well. I was familiar with the facility and know that it was a great soccer facility to complete my internship. I've played games here for Bethel. I've been to the facilities. I know it's a great facility to go and learn soccer and coaching and all that. So it helped me gain experience coaching soccer to a wide range of age groups, like I was talking about earlier, with all the different teams both my coaches coached and taught. And I decided on this coaching position specifically for coaching instead of let's say personal training or whatever, because I was kind of interested in that with going maybe to the Y, but I ultimately decided on this coaching position for my internship because it will prepare me to be a coach, obviously, with the wide range of ages in the sport I love the most. So, and then on the side here, there's a picture of there's like a map of the whole facility. It's a great, like I said, it's an amazing facility. It has 9 outdoor fields, full field, full-size fields. It has a stadium as well and an indoor field as well, tons of parking. And then right here is kind of the entrance to the main stadium field and the kind of directory of where all the fields are, because you can get kind of lost in the facility. Duties performed during the internship. The duties I performed during the internship didn't really change much. I kind of did the same thing every single time I went in and helped coach. So I moved the big goals into position for drills and scrimmages. I set up cones for various drills such as possession games or passing patterns, such as setting boundaries for the possession games or the scrimmages, and then setting up passing patterns where players need to start on their cone and move away from the cone, pass and move, that kind of thing. I evaluated players a little bit and looked for what they can improve on and reported what I thought back to coach, which is beneficial, which I'll talk about later about how that kind of helped me with my understanding and reading of the game more as a coach, not a player. I separated training bibs by color, so the players can easily go grab them whenever we do scrimmages or any type of drill that needs players divided up into teams. I collected balls during shooting drills and scrimmages to ensure there was enough balls to be played. So whenever a player shot the ball over and missed, I would most of the time go get it. Sometimes we designated the player who shot it and shanked it to go and get the ball as kind of like their punishment. So it kind of depend. I helped run some drills through demonstrating the drill or the skill that is being performed or passing the ball in to start the drill. So like with the younger kids, I would help demonstrate the drill or the skill. So like in the ball mastery with Coach Luke, which is basically just getting like touches on the ball. If a young player didn't know how to do a certain skill, I would kind of help them walk through the skill slower and try and get them to get the movements down and just kind of help them one-on-one as needed. And then for the older groups, I would just kind of pass the ball in to help start the drill, whether that's like a passing drill or a scrimmage or whatever. I coach the younger groups a little bit. That kind of ties in with the last point I was talking about. If I saw a player struggling with a certain skill or drill, I would kind of talk to them and say, hey, well, instead of doing this, you should do this, and this is why, kind of thing, to try and help them understand why they're doing the drill and help them understand how to do the drill. I organized some subs for scrimmages. That was kind of with both age, all the age groups really. So the coaches didn't have to do that, it was a lot harder than you think, trying to count off people and make sure all the players that are in their actual position are playing their position and everything, and everyone's getting rotated properly. And then the main thing was observe a lot, take mental notes, and ask lots of questions, which led me to getting a lot of practical knowledge, which I'll talk about in a couple of slides. So networking, over the entirety over the entirety of the internship, I definitely feel I grew closer with both my coaches while learning how to coach youth soccer by them both. I definitely feel like this helped my relationship with them going forward, and both of them have invited me back to go there if I want to, and internship with them a little bit more, or just kind of shadow them coaching or that kind of thing. They were saying I could maybe even try and get my own youth team, maybe whenever I'm a senior, if that's something that I would like to do, and they could help me with that and kind of put in a good word for me. I met some other coaches at the club. I can't remember exactly their names, but I remember meeting quite a bit of other coaches that my college coaches introduced me to. I even met the club director, which is kind of like the head guy of the whole club that kind of oversees the whole inner workings of the club. One specific coach I remember in particular, he's actually a college student like me, and he goes to Friends. He plays college soccer there as well, and he coaches a youth team with Kansas Rush, Wichita, which is the specific club that I interned with at Stryker Sports. It was great to see another guy in a very similar position to me, to show me that it is possible for a college student, athlete, and a coach, and to be a coach at a youth soccer team. So like, it was good to see basically someone in my same position doing something that I want to pursue and show that it's possible and it's manageable. If that makes sense. So moving on to my practical knowledge that I learned from the experience, which was quite a bit. I asked lots of questions, had lots of good talks with both coaches about different coaching philosophies or just different little things that I picked up on. So the first thing was let the players play, learn, and develop by playing the game. A lot of coaches tend to overcoach and just stop practice over and over again to make coaching points, which to some extent is good, but then that just delays the play, and then that stops the players from playing the game, which is the best teacher, and it stops them from getting as many touches on the ball as they can and just playing the game and having fun. So you should only really stop the play to make a valid coaching point that needs to be said to the whole team or group, or of course for a water break. That's obvious, but yeah, just don't overcoach, and don't stop the drills and everything every time you see a little tiny mistake. Just let them play, learn from their mistakes, and move on. During breaks, let the players lead the conversation. By this I mean, like, as being the coach, ask the players lots of questions on the team to get them to start thinking critically about the game. So you can ask them like, why did we do this drill, or why do you take your touch in this direction, or where do you shoot the ball in this position? Like, just different little things that can get them thinking about the game that they might not otherwise think about if you just spit out the answers and don't let them think critically about the game. So that's one thing I really liked. Both Coach Luke and Coach James did that when they asked all the players different questions to kind of prompt them to think more deeply about the game. Giving your team soccer homework, so to speak, by watching and analyzing a professional match, or specifically a player in their position, as well as doing technical ball work homework at least once a week. So this is one thing I noticed from Coach James. he would have his players, he would ask his players to watch and analyze at least one professional game a week, which I think is very beneficial to their tactical understanding of the game. You can watch professional matches in multiple different ways. You can specifically watch the player in their position. So like, let's say a player is a forward, so they might watch a Premier League match and watch Harry Kane of Tottenham and his movement off the ball and how he creates space to score goals. Or they could also look at the formations that teams play and ask themselves, why do these teams play their formations? So there's multiple different ways you can watch and analyze matches. That is very beneficial for all players to do at any age. The sooner you start, the better. As well as doing technical ball work, homework. So by that, I mean doing like the ball mastery, getting little touches on the ball at your house, whether that's juggling a little bit with the ball, or doing just getting some touches on the ball for 10 to 15 minutes, at least once a week on your own outside of team practice, is very beneficial and will compound and make the player an overall better player as they grow into the game. Also, adapt my soccer sessions I run to get the most out of my players. So this starts with knowing your players and structuring your sessions with the goal or focus in mind, which I'll talk about in the sample practice plans as well. But you need to build a relationship and know your players and what makes them tick, what they need to work on most, what their strengths and weaknesses are, and what the individual players' strengths and weaknesses are, as well as the team strengths and weaknesses. So you can kind of create a session that will overall get everyone better and the whole team better as well. And then put a little picture in here. This is kind of the entry way to the indoor part of Stryker Sports. I have a little concession stand. And the field's right out here. It's a really nice facility, like I was mentioning before. Let's see, make sure that this is still recording. Okay, yeah, it's still recording. Okay, moving on to my second slide of practical knowledge. Make it clear to the players that when you criticize them or get onto them, it is not a personal attack. And as a coach, you criticize them because you care. Make sure the players know, sorry, let me reread that. So make it clear to the players that when you criticize them, it's not a personal attack. And as a coach, you do it because you care and you know the player has great potential and you believe in them. So I've noticed sometimes when Coach James or Coach Luke would get on to some of their players, they would get kind of down on themselves and get either down or mad that they're getting called out, or, getting criticism about, hey, you need to work on this, or, hey, you made the wrong decision here. In reality, they need to look at it differently. And this is what a lot of young players struggle with. They don't they get kind of down on themselves easily and kind of get frustrated, which is understandable, but it's hard to not get frustrated, but and it takes a little bit of time, but that's why it's so important as a coach to make sure that all the players understand you do it because you care and you know the player's great potential and you believe in them. So if you wouldn't believe in them, then you wouldn't try and help them to become better. You would just say, oh, well, Billy is the player that he is. He's not going to get better. I'm not going to try and help him get better. So, whatever. But if you actually coach him and critique him, then that shows that you care. So praise players for implementing coaching points into the drills or scrimmages in the session. And for players that are falling short, encourage, remind them, and motivate them too. So whenever, like, let's say you're doing scrimmages and you have coaching points about moving the ball quickly, checking your shoulder, for instance, and one of your players is doing these two things, or maybe one of them is just doing one of them, get on, like, say, great job, you're doing what I asked, and the coaching points, and kind of use them as an example to be like, hey guys, remember to check your shoulder before you receive the ball, or let's move the ball quickly. Let's try and do 1 touch instead of 2 touch. So that's kind of a way to help drive the intensity of the session as well, and just kind of remind them of the little things that they should be thinking about whenever they're playing and practicing. Running sessions is trial and error. I'll have to continually adapt and tweak things to get the most out of my players. So this kind of goes back to my previous point about knowing your players and knowing their strengths and weaknesses, and those will always change. So you need to always adapt the sessions to the best of your ability to get the most out of your players. Learn and take away other drills from fellow coaches and evaluate if they would be good to implement into my own team sessions. So this was a point made by Coach Luke that I really liked. He would kind of notice whether that's other coaches from the club, professional coaches, just other coaches that are in the world of soccer. He would kind of look and evaluate how they train their players. What kind of drills do they do? What is their kind of coaching philosophy? And think to himself, is this good in my situation as a coach? Would I be able to use these drills in my team setting? Would it work? So there's a couple questions you can think to yourself, and I think that was a good point to be made. And this ties into having a collection of go-to drills, whether that's in a Word document or a journal that I write down with pen and paper. Have a collection of go-to drills I can reference to use in different situations with my future teams. So that kind of ties into the point that I just made there. Here's another picture of the indoor part of the facility. That's just kind of the indoor field. Another slide of practical knowledge here. Run short, sharp, simple drills with the younger groups because their attention span is very short and can't handle much information or instructions. This was clearly evident with Coach Luke's U6 girls and U8 boys. They wouldn't be able to really understand complex drills or games or anything like that. So we had to keep the drills very short. That we had to keep the explanations very short, short and sharp, and make sure that they were simple enough for the youngsters to kind of catch on to and understand. And then as they get older, they can progressively do more complex drills and just kind of progress from there as their understanding of the game progresses as they get older and train more. It's also important to note that the younger groups as well, it's very important for them to get tons of touches on the ball to help them develop such as ball mastery at the start of a session. So I'll point this out in the practice plans that I inserted on this presentation as well. But Coach Luke would always do some kind of ball mastery, getting touches on the ball with the U6 and U8 boys, even the U12 boys, but mainly like these younger groups, because getting touches on the ball is just going to speed up their development astronomically, and a lot of like team settings, like a lot of team practices, you don't get as many touches on the ball. So if you get a whole bunch of touches on the ball in like the warm-up part of the team session, you're getting tons of more touches on the ball than compared to just doing a traditional warm-up and jumping into passing or scrimmaging, So I think it's very beneficial to incorporate some type of touches at the beginning of every session for younger groups, even older groups, to keep their touch nice and sharp and clean. Use a combination of playing the actual game and technical work such as passing patterns and sessions. So this is a conversation I had with Coach James, and we both agreed that it's most important to have the players play the game a ton. Play the game a ton based off of what you see in games, incorporate drills to work on points you noticed in gameplay. So let's say whenever you're watching the game, you noticed a lot of your players aren't sending good crosses into the box, or they aren't timing their runs very well. to finish inside the box. So maybe next session you can incorporate a passing pattern into a cross and a finish with your forward or striker to kind of work on those things, and then continually try and analyze what your team needs to work on from the actual game that they're playing. If they're turning over the ball a lot, then maybe do some more passing patterns or work on their touch. So like little things like that, I think is very beneficial in the way of structuring your sessions. Um, this is the last side of practical knowledge here. So encourage players to focus on the details of each drill and make sure they drive the intensity and keep it constant throughout the session. So a good quote from Coach James is, the players drive the intensity, not the coaches. So the coaches can plan the best session, have the best drills, but if the players don't show up and they don't want to be there and put in the work, then, you know, the session can be very poor. So it's very important from the get-go to make sure your players know the expectations of them and make sure that those expectations are met every day, and kind of encourage the players to focus on the little details of each drill, kind of checking away from the cone, checking their shoulder, having a good first touch, all those little things that they need to make mindless activities. Be authentic and genuine as a coach to build trust with the players and their parents. So don't be someone you aren't. This is kind of applicable for life in general as well. Don't fake who you are. Be authentic and genuine, and those relationships will build. People can kind of suss you out whenever they know that you're kind of acting in a way that you aren't typically, if that makes sense. At the end of each session, have a review with the players and go over what went well in the session, what they need to improve on, and the points to keep in mind about the session. So this was a point that I noticed from Coach Luke coaching. He would kind of pull in his youngsters to talk with them at the end of every session. And this is kind of like a good way to review the session, kind of see how what the players thought about the session. And then this can also help you know how to tweak your sessions each week to best, like to the points that I've made before, to get the best out of your players. The last point here on my practical knowledge is how to progress drills. So in general, you start the drills off simple, then add complexity, such as in passing patterns. So maybe just doing a simple passing pattern movement and then adding more complexity to the movement, or adding more balls to the passing patterns where it's a lot more quicker and you have to be on your toes. So little things like that. For possession in small-sided games, you can start them off like with no restrictions, see how they play, and then you can add certain conditions such as touch limit. So maybe players only can play one touch or two touch. Bounce players, so that would mean like players are on the outside of the box and they're kind of neutral, so they play for both teams, and you can pass it to them, and then they can't get pressed, so they can't get tackled and lose the ball. So you can use them kind of like as a wall to bounce off of and play, if that makes sense. Bounce players can also be for each specific team. So you can either do them as neutrals, or you can do them for like the red team or the yellow team. In scrimmages, you can do finishing restrictions. So maybe you want them to work on finishing first time in the box. So every single finish has, for a finish to count, for a goal to count, it has to be crossed in from the wing, and it has to be finished first time, whether that's with the foot, the head, whatever. Then those help you work on specific aspects of the game you feel your team needs to work on the most. So future career implications. I definitely see myself progressing in the world of coaching soccer in the future. Coaching different age groups, like I discussed before, definitely helped me gauge to see what age groups I like working with most. And I feel I enjoy working with older players more. I don't think I necessarily have the patience to coach little kids with their short attention spans. I got a little frustrated, and I don't think I really knew how to handle some situations with the younger kids. So I feel like I would be best fitted for U12 or up. because I enjoyed coaching the U12 group as they listened better, had a longer attention span, and had some of the had some to most of the basics of the game learned, but they definitely still need to be mastered. So I didn't have to necessarily like start from the get-go and they already kind of had a little bit of the understanding of the game and everything, and they weren't just running all over the place. It was kind of hectic with the younger kids a bit. Yeah, so like I was mentioning, I definitely see myself starting my coaching career, coaching an older boys team in like a club setting, and then possibly progressing to coaching a college ball down the line, whether that's progressing into like an assistant role. I can also see myself as like an assistant coach and like maybe the strength specialist or the nutritionist. So like I can be an assistant coach, but I can also help players develop nutrition plans or strength work programs in the gym with my degree that I'll be getting from Bethel here with exercise science and those different certifications I'll be pursuing. I think that would also be another good career path for me, as well as maybe becoming a head coach of a college program one day. Some pros of the internship. I definitely learned and gained valuable insight to see if coaching soccer is something I truly want to pursue in the future. It's kind of a grind going to and from the facility on school nights and stuff, and it really kind of tested me to see if that's something I really want to pursue in the future. I got to work with a wide range of age groups and note how it's a bit different coaching different age groups, like I discussed before, with their attention span and their development in the game. And it helped me clarify what age group and gender I want to coach down the line when I become a soccer coach. So like I was saying, I think I would work better with coaching a boys group, an older boys group. I could see myself coaching an older girls group as well. But I feel like I would fit best with coaching a older boys group later down the line. Some cons. The main con was the driving and paying for gas. So it was a 30-minute drive here from Bethel, which was a 1-hour round trip, which caused me to have to fill up my gas tank a bit more and spend some more money, which I'm kind of very frugal and I don't like spending a lot of money. So that was one downside of the experience. One other con was I felt I could have been given a little bit more responsibility with coaching the players more, especially in the older groups. So like I would give my opinion. I would kind of set up the drills and everything, kind of like I discussed in my duties that I performed. But I feel like I could have maybe jumped in to make more coaching points and just kind of be more vocal. I think that's partly my fault because I wasn't as confident in my voice and projecting it to kind of players my same age, especially with like the U18s. So I need to be confident in what I'm saying and, assert myself as an authority figure, if that makes sense. So I'm going to go over some practice plans that were sent to me. That's kind of like my artifacts for the presentation here. I have 4 different ones. They're a little bit different, but they're all kind of have the general idea of what a practice plan should be. And I'll point out the little kind of things that I should incorporate into my own practice plans from what I've seen in these 4 practice plans. And here's kind of a picture of some players playing inside of the Stryker Sports Complex in the indoor facility. So as you can see, it's big, like I've talked about before. So in this first practice plan here, it was from Ernesto, which was another coach that I met up at the Stryker Sports. So if you can see at the top there, they have a tight space dribbling pattern. So that's kind of like the ball mastery and like the touches that I was talking about, like kind of like the warm up that could be incorporated at the beginning of every session. So like they have different moves that they can do and work on in their 1v1s. So like the inside cut to lunge or body feint, the scissors, double scissors, kind of like different little touches on the ball that they can get. as well as doing wall passing with the partner, um, taking their touch with different surface areas of the foot, whether that's inside the foot, laces, taking the touch in a certain direction, those little things. So that would kind of be like the warm-up touches that, like I was saying earlier about getting especially the younger groups, getting them tons of touches on the ball, even in team settings to help them progress. And then progressing further into the warm-up, having some SAQ, which is like speed, agility, quickness type drill. So they can kind of, you can either incorporate it with or without the balls. So you can do different little fun games that that the little kids enjoy and name them fun names. And then you have certain activities which make up the main part of the session. So like on here, there's like 4 activities or drills that you do that is like the main bulk of your session. And then you move to like small-sided games or scrimmages at the end to kind of incorporate the coaching points that you made throughout the session and the drills into the scrimmage at the end there. And as you can see with, I'll go ahead and go to the next one here. As you can see with all of these coaching plans, they all kind of follow the same kind of skeleton. On the side here, they have about how much time that you want to spend on each drill. And that's kind of just like a way to keep you on track, to make sure you don't spend too much time on one drill and you're kind of progressing through the session properly and everything. And then, yeah, so these are 2 online ones, and then I also have another handwritten one. So I think it looks better whenever you do it online because it's kind of not as messy. So maybe whenever I do my own practice plans, I'll do them in Word or use some type of other program to, or kind of like a template to use because it's more clean cut and everything. But if you go back to like these, the handwritten ones at the bottom, well, even on the printed ones, they have at the bottom here, they have tips to success, which is kind of like little things, little notes that are good to keep, to kind of remind yourself about like the long-term objectives that you're trying to work on. So like for this one, it'll be dribbling, 1v1, passing, shooting, and receiving. Little things to keep in mind, like talking, keeping that to 10 seconds or less with your instructions. So the players aren't overloaded and they can just focus on one thing, one aspect of the drill. Teaching is like I do, we do, you do. So let's say like I do as the coach. So I demonstrate the drill or I demonstrate the drill or skill. And then the coach and the players do it. So me and the players do it to make sure we're on the same page and we understand what we're doing. And then the players do it by themselves and apply what I taught them. You can also put the new drills that you're focusing on. So you know, like, hey, I'm starting this drill now, and I've been working on these other drills, but this is a new one. So it might take a little bit longer for the players to catch on and understand the drill. And then on all these as well, they have, if you can see on here, they have CP, which means coaching points. So for like each little warm-up or game or activity or drill, whatever you want to call it, you have little coaching points that you have to remind yourself about of different things to tell the players, like check their shoulder, use the peripheral vision, look at the ball before you shoot, like little things like that kind of help remind the players of what they need to focus on in each drill. Kind of transition times, all these just little notes, one warning, one with strikes if a player's not listening, kind of with discipline, with the team, environment, make sure it's safe, positive, fun and fast paced. And then always reflect on your sessions that you plan. So always ask yourself, how can I make this session better than it was before? You can always improve. Even if you have what you feel is a perfect session, you can always improve on it and kind of tweak it. Like I mentioned before, you always continuously tweaking your sessions to best fit your players and get the most out of them. So these are all the different practice plans that I got. It's kind of different little focuses as well. So like this one was based off of combination play by using the wall pass. So a lot of passing and combination play. And you're reviewing the dribbling, shooting, and juggling skills. And the new skills that he's incorporating in this session is the wall passing. For this one, the objective topic is finishing. So we're doing a lot of finishing type drills, reviewing dribbling in tight space and juggling. And we're learning how to kick with the laces and how to finish with the laces, which is a very important skill. So that's kind of the gist of all the practice plans, which really helped me kind of think about how to frame and plan my sessions every week. Yeah. So to end off the presentation here with a little bit of reflection, I definitely enjoyed the experience and found it very beneficial for me going forward into my coaching career. I learned many things from talking and asking questions, as you can see with all my practical knowledge slides that I've discussed earlier in the presentation. And over the length of the internship, I noticed my understanding and reading of the game improved as I started to see the game more from a coaching point of view instead of a player point of view. So I was able to start thinking of coaching points to make in certain scenarios and how to explain concepts and ideas within the game, and got better as the internship progressed. So I was able to see and think about different coaching points whenever I see players playing scrimmages, like, oh, if they're bunching up, or if they need to create space, or if I can single out a player if he's not checking his shoulder, or taking his touch in the wrong direction, making a wrong decision, if he needs to play quicker. So I kind of started seeing things more from a coaching point of view instead of a player point of view, which is interesting because I'm obviously a player as well here for Bethel. So I see the game a lot through the player lens, not as much as a coaching lens. So that kind of helped me understand the game, not only as a coach, but as a player as well, which I found very beneficial to the experience. So we'll go ahead and stop sharing here. But that is my presentation. I'll go ahead and stop recording this, and I'm going to make this into a YouTube link, and I'll submit it. So thank you.